Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for a Latin American tournament that happened not this past weekend, but the weekend before. It happened May 7th by Latin American TCG. It was 72 players, which is part of the reason why we have a top 8 breakdown here, but also because these lists were honestly very hard to find, which is why it's been almost 2 weeks since the event happened and why I'm just making this video now. But quick story time, I did do an update for Eggman events for all of the BT12 events, which you can find a page, or this page linked in the description if you guys want all of these deck lists and the idea for this, so make sure to check that out. But I posted about it, and Francisco messaged me or commented on the post like, hey, you're forgetting about the Latin American events, that Digimon Latin American, which is a Facebook page that I see a lot on Facebook. I follow them as well, and they do like repost a lot of my stuff for the community, which I think is really neat, that they have a bunch of the deck lists. So they have pretty much all of top 8. They had a good amount of them, and so I decided to do top 8 also just because of the size of the event and everything else. They didn't have like 13th through like 16th just wasn't existing, and I just felt like top 8 was better for this event. So make sure to follow Digimon Latin American for their information. They have a lot of good information. Even if you don't speak Spanish, it's great. Facebook Translate does a good enough job, and I do appreciate all the work that they did documenting a lot of these deck lists and making sure that I can make this video and this webpage for you guys today. So story time aside, we do have this top 8, and this is a pretty unique top 8 breakdown for what it is. This did happen again May 7th, so before the weekend of what the 2 other events that I covered for this as well. And we do see 2 Bloomlords, 2 WarGreymon, 1 Machinedramon, 1 Hunter, 1 Blue Flare, and 1 Grandis, which is quite crazy, especially since there's no BLZ X for this event either. I will say that there was a BLZ X. I think it got 10th, and it did have a 4-1 record, which is interesting. Also, the fact that this tournament was only 72 players and it ended after 5 rounds due to pair downs and ties happening. So it wasn't, I have a, like, I would just say take these results with a little bit of grain of salt of just like a different community and like just a different kind of standard for regionals, just because it was a little bit smaller for it. But I also do think that these are some pretty good deck lists and they're worth looking at and documenting, and we're going to do that today. So we're going to start off with every top placing leader, or like the top placing list in each archetype, starting off with their first place. So we got our Bloomlord, or we have Vicente with this list here, and we haven't seen a lot of Bloomlord since pretty much BT11 Ultimate Cup format. I know people have been trying it out, and I think that Bloomlord will be doing well in our BT12 Ultimate Cup format as well, but hasn't really been doing anything recently here in BT12 here, at least in North America and from what I've seen. But it is still a very solid deck. It does have some solid lines with it. We do also have Quartzmon available to us as a level 7 that helps us kind of commit to our control matchup as well. So we can get to a Bloomlordramon Bloomlordmon very quickly and very efficiently and keep it return very consistently. But like once we get there, we just don't really have anything else to do. So being able to do this, and since we spam a bunch of our own bodies onto the board with our 3s and 4s with our effects, being able to use Quartzmon to then get like the memory from there for every 2 suspended, so it's very easy for this to be very cheap, and then also get the burn damage and just kind of control what our opponent's doing. It's just very strong in a lot of ways. So I do like the idea of that for this deck and what it can do for it. I do like the nice little add of Chimeramon, which can use like the, if you have a bunch of level 4s out with all the effects, you can go, a free Digivolve into a level 5 into a level 6 seems very strong, and just kind of everything else in there. So I do like this deck. I think it's unique. I do like the Chimeramon tech, and congratulations to Vicente for their first place finish with this one. Next up, we have Machinedramon, which I do know a lot of people here in North America have been trying to make it work, and this, I wouldn't say like this list is terribly unique with what you're able to do. This is Diego Alvarez's second place list, and we do have our big new boss monster, Chaosdramon X Antibody, which is pretty good against everything that isn't Hunter. Hunter still can find a way to get around this, and that just seems to be the case, right? Like Machinedramon, if this was truly invincible, I think that this would be very tough for them to balance or do like card design around and kind of stuff, because once they get to it, you just lose, which we've seen before as not very fun. And sometimes like Mother D Reaper, if they're able to get like the Gatekeeper out, some decks just strictly can't win against it, which is really tough. So I know like the idea of trying to balance it and stuff, but it's just rough. Like the same exact set this comes out, that we have a card that can just scoop it up. I mean, it's obviously just one archetype, but it's probably one of the more popular archetypes into it, which is kind of stinky for it as well. But the deck is good. I've grown to like it more and more as I've seen it. I know a lot of people have been on it, which is great. We don't have like we still have like a lot of good like level 5s to use our effects. We haven't gotten anything I would say particularly new recently from it. Like I think like the newest tech is like Machinedramon, which you run a couple copies of, but we don't have like a lot of new variety, excuse me, for that, and being able to you just have to like use a lot of like the still EX1 cards, and that just feels kind of bad. So hopefully they have the top end pretty understood, and obviously we've got a lot from Analog Man and BT11, but I think this deck does need a little bit more of like the middle ground stuff, and like you'll even see like the bottom end is a lot of just like unofficial cards like Dorumon and a Doraemon as our egg, just for like that consistent stuff, and like Garudamon. But I do like this deck, and I think it's solid. And even though we see right now there's a bunch of just like the red base for this, I think that this is going to be popular again in Ultimate Cup BT12, where we put like just probably like a solid black base, especially since our entire top end is black side. So we can just use it for we need a couple more of our level 5s to be only black instead of like the red ones. We have to replace these ones, but I think it's very solid, and it's probably going to be seeing some play in Ultimate Cup. And if the BT12 Ultimate Cup is anything like the BT11 one, it's going to be a little bit of a slower format, which means you do get to kind of set up Kaustinen X Antibody, and with Hunters not in the format too, I think it's going to be something that can do very well. So we're going to see how that is, but Diego getting second place with this deck is still very fantastic, and congratulations to their finish there. Next up, we do have our fourth place list. It is Federico with Hunters, and I know we were just talking about it with the Machinedramon, and I don't have a lot to say about this build specifically. I do like Calling for Darkness, though. I will say this is a tech that I've been running in my build, and I've been really happy with it. Just being able to get a lot of pieces when you need them. Sometimes you need to put like pieces underneath your tamers so you can get like the devolution like reduction, which is great. And sometimes you just need like get a rookie. It's unfortunate that it's only purple Digimon, because there's you're in a variety color deck, but having just like a fourth copy, I guess, in this version of Superior Mode, or like a fifth copy can really help you out in a lot of times. Or just like the Superior Mode and the regular version of Restramon are like the best cards in your deck. So being able to have like another copy, or being able to recycle it for almost free, I think is very strong. But this deck, again, I've said it a couple times, and probably not for a bit, since we're approaching Ultimate Cup format, that it's very strong at what it is. The deck build is pretty understood a lot of the time, but the play style is what's really unique, and I really do like that. So congratulations again to Federico for their fourth place finish with this one. And then next up, we do have our WarGreymon. I don't have the third place list, unfortunately. That's the only list I'm missing from this top 8, since again the deck lists were not very consistent for this one, but we did get our sixth place from Alexis here. And being able to looking at this list too, there's just so many ways to build Greymon right now. It has so many pieces that you can, the top end is very diverse. And if you want to just go into the new WarGreymon, obviously splashing a little bit of black WarGreymon, but you can also put WarGreymon X if you really want some more aggression. You can also just go still into black WarGreymon with all the new support you get from this. So I think this deck is really cool, and I like what it does with it. It's going to be interesting to see what, obviously we can do like a red base or a black base for any of the Greymon archetypes into the Ultimate Cups that we have coming up too. But I do think like right now this is solid for what it does. It has a lot of interaction. Just being able to have like a piercing with also being able to attack twice is very good. And it's going to, I don't know, Greymon just has so much support, so many different lines, so many pieces in each one of your levels that it's kind of, you almost have like too much choice, right? Like you want to be able to run everything, and you just strictly can't a lot of the times. Like you have to make choices on what you want and what you can't afford. So, but I still think the deck is good, and it's been doing very well as well. And we'll have to see how it continues to do, if there's any more like spicier builds. But it is really cool to see just like all the personal preference that people decide to use on their choices, because again, there is just so much choice available for this deck list right now. So congrats to Alexis for their sixth place finish there. And then we have our seventh place Blue Flare, and we did see in this past weekend but before this event took place, after this event took place, we did have in Italy Blue Flare take the event, which is, even though we're covering this one later because of what I told earlier. But Blue Flare, I think, is still in a really good spot in the fact that it does have a lot of good interaction against a lot of decks. We are running the, I would say, cheese version, so you do have like the 2 copies of MetaGreymon X and the Greymon underneath it, which means that you can do a lot of checks if you need to, and you can get some like surprise wins off of that. We are running like Kiriha and also the Sora Joe, which if you looked at the Italian list, there's only they only run the Kiriha. I don't think they ran the full cheese. I think they just ran the Greymon Security Attack +1. We have one of the new Lanamons as well, being able to like just a good hybrid card, which also lets you. Does any of this really care? Yeah, so most of this cares if it has like Blue Flare in its trait. So you can't generically do this, but Randomon being able to tuck something underneath it and then digivolve into perhaps like a Metal Greymon or into like any of the other level 5s does mean that you can get some of the inheritables that you really want from it, which is nice. And so for example, like Decker is on player when digivolving you can put one underneath it, but then if you have like the Decker underneath it, you can get the effects from it. So I think it's nice. I think pretty similar to the Cyber Launcher. So being able to just get more sources underneath stuff can help you with Lana. So I do like the ad there. Great Maelstrom, I've been seeing a couple more people use too. Being able to be a 6 cost to return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of his deck is good. And it can be 6/6 is a really good cost for something like this. But anyways, this is the list. Congratulations to Jose for their finish on this one. And to wrap us off, we do have a Grandis list. So this is Andre's 8th place Grandis, and this is a fairly unique build for what it is. Generically, Grandis has been pretty straightforward in their builds and everything. So I do think it's more unique. You do have like a couple of one Kori Kakumon, you do have 2 Davis, 2 Mimis, and then also you are using Quartzmon as the top end, which I think is neat. I don't know if it's needed. It feels like I don't know. I'd have to actually try this myself. I haven't seen this deck in action, and I don't know how I feel about Quartz in it, especially in a deck that you're supposed to just be like one big punch and be done. Like Quartz can be like an alternate win condition a lot of times, but I feel like it just gets outed too easily, and the fact that like you generally don't have a lot of cards in your own build or board. You have like a single stack and maybe a Tamer out. This is kind of expensive for what it is too, but I do think like it can have some interaction with your opponent and can stun them enough to be able to build like maybe a second stack or get your momentum back as well. So it's very interesting. I'd have to try it myself, but I do like the revisions to the deck going into this format, and congratulations to Andres for their 8th place finish with this deck. So that is going to be it for me. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you do appreciate it. Make sure to follow Latin American, the Digimon Latin American Facebook group, which is linked in this page, which is linked in the description as well. Thank you again to Francisco for reaching out to me for so I can make this video. You really inspired me to dive into there. And then also make sure to check out Eggman events. I've updated this. I've updated it with this video, so I've updated it twice today for y'all. So that's been a lot of work, but I hope you guys appreciate it, and everything else on this site as well. But again, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.